Hello guys! This might be the biggest secret of my life, and now I'm sharing it with you. I was in this small Iceland city in Texas with my family when one evening I took a pregnancy test without really thinking much of it. Because in America, even pregnancy test packages are huge, like 50 tests in one pack. So I wanted to buy some because I knew that once we got back home in Finland and our infertility treatments continued, we'd eventually need them. And honestly, the bigger the pack, the better. But then, the package looked a bit weird, and later that evening while we were grilling steak, I started thinking maybe I should try one test just to see if they are the same over here. And of course they were. But I still don't really get why I even took the test, because honestly, I didn't even believe it was possible for me to get pregnant. But okay guys, now let's take a step back. Some of you maybe doesn't know, but I've been with my partner Sami since 2021. So way before I had any kind of big social media following. So Sami's been with me since the very beginning. And I was the girl who never really wanted kids. And Sami was total opposite. So he started talking to me about having kids pretty early on. And I wasn't so sure about it. I had never wanted kids with anyone. I've been in 2 relationships before Sami, and having kids was always a definite no-no for me. No way. So at this point, I had never wanted kids with anyone. But Sami really is different. But still, my social media was just starting to blow up. And I was getting cleaning gigs from all over the world. And I was just so excited about my new career. And having kids was definitely the last thing on my mind. Because the dirtier the home, the better. That's what I wanted. And I knew I couldn't do these kinds of cleanings while pregnant, so I definitely didn't have time for a baby. No, thank you. But funny twist, guys, I don't know, is it that funny? Oh my gosh. Because unfortunately, I'm actually pregnant in this video, but I didn't know it yet, so it kind of hurts to even watch this now because I wasn't wearing any protection at all. So we just kept living our life, and Sami kept talking about starting a family. He wanted to buy a house, get married and have kids, and he even proposed me, and I did want to get married too, but my mind was just fully focused on cleaning. I can't even explain it. I was completely hooked on it. And then I actually started to feel really anxious. And yeah, then I broke up with Sami. Because I knew he wanted kids. And I was starting to feel more and more sure that I didn't. Or that's what I thought. I also had lost a lot of weight back then. Like 15 kilos, is it like 30 pounds or something? So we broke up at the end of 2022. And Sami was heartbroken and I just felt numb. But I threw myself into work. And I moved out of our shared home and focused completely on cleaning. It was the only thing I truly loved. But then I started feeling kind of numb about that too. Or the weight loss had hit my energy so hard, I didn't have energy at all. I didn't have the same strength anymore, and my days were all about strict food rules. Like nothing else. I definitely had some kind of eating issues. I don't know. But my days were just me working on my computer, and editing, recording voiceovers and waiting for the next cleaning job. But even there, cleaning, I got tired way faster than before, because usually I'm so full of energy, but I thought I was just out of shape or something like. And I also stopped getting my period, so that was bad. And I wasn't even seeing my friends at this point, and I was just alone and isolated. I wasn't like sad or happy. I was just like, I don't know, it was a weird time in my life. But yeah, I wasn't like depressed or anything like that. It was all because of my eating habits, and I know it now, but I didn't know that back then. So we broke up November 2020, and then in the summer of 23, I started eating better. Because I was just like, I can't do these food rules anymore. And I started eating way more freely, or at least I tried. I didn't have those strict times anymore for when I was allowed to eat, or specific amounts for every little thing I was eating. Or at least I was trying to let go of that mindset. And it really helped because I started getting more energy again, and that was a miracle. And at this point, Sami was dating someone new. Of course he was. He's good looking guy and such a kind person, and I knew he wanted a family, so honestly, if I were him, I'd be looking too. He was like 33 at that point. So yeah, I just didn't want to find anyone. I knew I had to fix my eating or my mindset before I could even think about dating again. And then I started seeing some of my friends again, which was great, and I began eating even more and more freely. And then at the end of the summer, I saw Sami again. And guys, our love kind of started all over. And somehow I had gotten my feelings back. Not my love feelings, but all of my feelings, like happiness, sadness, everything. Because I've read that if you're like lack of nutrients, your mind just kind of shuts down. You don't feel anything. You don't feel anything. It's crazy. But I have learned that in a hard way, so I was just thrilled to feel things again. I can't even explain it. And then I gained a bit of weight back, and just to be clear, I never looked sick or too skinny at any point. In fact, a lot of people even complimented me on how good I looked, because people often assume that being thin means being healthy. But that's really not the case. I'd much rather be a little heavier and have my body actually working than ever be that skinny again. Sure, when I was younger, I was even thinner. I've always been like that. But at some point, my friend Anni just said, you can't expect to be the same size at 30 as you were at 18. So yeah, all of that really got me thinking. And anyway, this was around September 23, and me and Sami were secretly seeing each other without anyone knowing, and we were talking about babies. So I explained everything to Sami, all the stuff I had realized about my eating, and then the way he always talked about having kids with so much positivity, it really made me start thinking. I've shared this before, but I was really depressed as a kid, and that's been one of the biggest reasons why the idea of having children has scared me so much. What if they went through the same thing I did? It would honestly break my heart. And actually, before realizing my fear, for a long time I just thought I didn't want kids. Because I felt like my mom was the same, because my mom also never really wanted kids either, but she ended up getting pregnant by accident because our dog, ate her birth control pills. So surprise, I'm here. But yeah. But then with Sami, I started asking myself why, and then I realized it was fear. Because one time we talked about it, and I started crying. And I realized I was so scared. We spent a few months thinking things through, and then we decided, okay, let's get back together and start trying for a baby. And I wasn't scared at all. It felt like a completely new feeling for me, almost like a brand new life. The only problem was that my period was nowhere to be seen, not even close. So I started eating even more. And then at the end of 23, in November, I went to Miami with my mom for 3 months. And during that time, Sami came to visit too, and we went to this amazing cruise to Bahamas. And then I posted this photo of us on my Instagram, and it became pretty clear that we were back together. I was so happy. And before my trip, me and Sami agreed that if my period didn't come while I was in Miami, I'd go to see a doctor. And deep down, I kind of knew I had to go to a fertility doctor, and I wanted to go there alone first because I didn't even know if I could get pregnant. I mean, if there's something wrong with me, like permanently. And I mean, I know a lot of my friends have had the same thing on their mind too. Like, is there even a point in thinking about starting a family if you might not even be able to get pregnant? If you just don't know whether it's possible or not. And that's also one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, to share my story in case someone out there can relate to it or find something in it, or maybe even feel a little bit of hope. So in March 24, I went to this clinic called Ovumia. And they did an ultrasound and found out that I was in good shape, at least physically. And in Finland, you can get access to fertility clinics for free. But I didn't want to wait in any lines, I just wanted to get help quickly. So we decided to go private, and honestly, I can totally recommend them. 5 out of 5, the care was really great there. They also ran a bunch of blood tests and discovered that my hormones weren't functioning properly. Luckily, I had a lot of follicles, so everything looked fine down there. But the hormones in my brain weren't doing their job. So we started thinking about why that might be. And I don't think I really mentioned my weight loss at that point, not at least immediately. And it had been such a long time already that I figured it probably didn't matter anymore. But later I read that it can take several years for your hormones to balance out after a period of not eating properly. And that's the point when I let go of the very last food rules I still had. And honestly, I decided I'd rather be even 30 kilos heavier, which is about 66 pounds, and just eat whatever I feel like if that's what it takes for my body to start working again. I was also eating a lot, because those years of restriction hadn't exactly done me any good in that area either. So at this point, around summer 24, my weight went up even more, but I accepted it. And it's definitely not easy, especially when you work in the public eye and have to film yourself all the time. But somehow I just knew that this is what I had to do. I also didn't exercise as much, but I wasn't really stressed about it because I kept thinking I'll get pregnant if I'm meant to, and if I don't, then maybe that's a sign and it's protecting me from something worse. Maybe. The doctors in the clinic were super nice. I mean, the world's best. But sometimes I felt like they didn't really believe me when I said I wasn't stressed. Maybe because everybody who goes there are really stressed. I don't know. They said that it might affect if you are stressed, that usually women are really stressed about this. And I was like, no, I'm not. I wasn't panicking or worried, I wasn't crying or spending my nights thinking about it, and honestly, I didn't think about it much during the days either. And I mean, I was pretty bad at catching my ovulation, and it wasn't showing up anyway, so I was like, this is pointless. But I didn't expect anything in the next few months, and I'm not the type of person who gets super stressed about things. Even Sami said at the clinic that he's probably more stressed about all of this than I am. And that's true. So then we started trying all kinds of medications for me, and they kind of helped. At least I got my period back, which was great. But there was still no ovulation. And for those who don't know, you need ovulation in order to get pregnant. And did you know that there are only about 12 days in a whole year when you can actually get pregnant? So that's not a lot. And I was also traveling quite a bit, so even if we did manage to get ovulation, it might have landed right on one of my cleaning days when I was away somewhere. I especially remember this one time when the doctor said I was supposed to be ovulating, and I was literally in the middle of a cleaning job in Sweden with Bonja. So of course that chance just slipped away. And around that time, we were already planning a trip to Texas here because it had been my dream to clean over here, where everything's bigger. But then the doctors and Sami suggested that we should just go ahead and start the hormone injections too. The kind where you inject to help the follicle grow, and then another one to trigger ovulation. And I was a bit unsure, but I agreed. And if I'm being honest, I didn't really want to get pregnant before the trip. Because I had no idea how rough pregnancy could actually be, but I did know that I wouldn't be able to do these kind of cleanings if I were pregnant. I don't care enough about my own health sometimes, but of course, if I be pregnant, I would be worried about the health of my baby, that's for sure. So I was actually kind of revealed that I didn't get pregnant right before Texas. And we left for Texas in January 25, like a couple of months ago. And while we were there, I got my period naturally, and I was honestly pretty happy about it. And this might be a little too much info, but I really want to share everything openly because I'm a pretty open person. And I personally really wanted to hear stories like this when I was going through it. And to be honest, I had a hard time finding stories about infertility and treatments that didn't feel super heavy and negative, because I felt like most of the ones I found were full of stress, waiting for the next cycle, crying over negative pregnancy tests, and talking about how awful and exhausting the treatments were. And I get it, I really do. But I just didn't relate to any of that. And even though I say I'm super open, I actually didn't tell any of my friends or family about my treatments, not a single person. Because I just didn't have the energy for all the what's next, how is it going, did it work, blah 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 blah. Because of course, if a friend of mine had told me they were going through fertility treatments, I would have asked those questions too. Of course. So at this point we were in Texas, and we already agreed with the clinic that we'd continue the treatment right after coming back and move on to the next step. So after my period, I figured I probably still wouldn't ovulate naturally, but I still bought some ovulation tests anyway, and the pack came with 50 of them, and I was like, what is going on? So I also thought I should probably grab some pregnancy tests too, because we were definitely gonna need those at some point. So I calculated that I should be ovulating on January 29th, so I took a test. But there was absolutely nothing, surprise, surprise. Okay, I wasn't surprised at all. And there was never really anything on those tests, and I definitely didn't take any pregnancy test either, never. Because I thought there was just no way this could work if I'm not even ovulating. By the way, guys, I had a really weird feeling while I was cleaning the shower, because first I was cleaning it with chlorine, but when I was breathing it, I felt terrible. So I immediately rinsed it off. I just ran out of the room and I rinsed the shower, and then I just scrub it with a dish soap. It was so weird, but luckily I did it, so I didn't breathe that chlorine too much, right? At least I hope so. But yeah, after that ovulation test, we continue our normal life in Texas, but then I had UTI, pee infection, and it was bad. So we went to the doctor in Texas and I even posted about it on my Instagram. And I hadn't had one of those infections in 5 years. So I was kind of confused about where it suddenly came from. And maybe by now you already guess. And then at the doctor's office they asked if there was any chance I could be pregnant. And I said, absolutely not! No way! And they gave me some heavy meds and a 13-day course of antibiotics because the first one didn't work. 13 days, guys. And guess what? I was very pregnant. Then, few days later, I went to clean. And the next week, I did this cleaning. Without knowing, without even a single thought that anything could be wrong. So we are coming to the end of this video, but the story is definitely not over. It continues next week. And if you've got any questions for me, feel free to ask. I'm super happy to answer them all. And here you can see the before and after of the apartment. Pretty amazing result, right? And so many of you have been here with me for so long. And even if you are new, welcome. This has definitely been the most emotional story I've ever shared with you. So thank you for being part of it. I truly appreciate it. I can't even explain how much this means to me. And so thank you for being there. I love you all so much.